Today I want to talk about reading the crowd, a very important aspect when it comes to DJing, especially when you DJ freestyle. So let's talk about that right now. This is Share the Knowledge.
For the last 22 years, I've been rocking stages, playing in clubs, and having a lot of fun as a DJ and turntablist, and I've seen and learned a lot. Now it's time for me to share that knowledge by answering the questions that can help you become a better DJ. I'm djTLM, and this is Share the Knowledge.
This is my Q&A podcast, and right now I'm experimenting with the settings because I'm in a different location. I'm in a studio right now. I'll be doing this live broadcast either from home or from the studio, so the editing studio or the film studio. Share the Knowledge podcast. You can ask me questions throughout the week on social media. The handle is at djTLM. I'm going to answer this question, reading the crowd, and after that I want to get into some live Q&A. So if you have any questions, make sure to holler in the comment section. And if you're watching the replay, you can still ask me questions in the comment section. I will go through that section and answer some questions there. And if I see some very good questions, like the question I'm about to talk about, I might answer that in next week's episode. The question I want to talk about first is something I was talking about last week, and the subject of reading the crowd was mentioned by me, and I saw a couple of questions that wanted me to elaborate and talk about reading the crowd, how that actually works. So here's the thing, and I've explained this in some of my videos on the channel at youtube.com/djTLMtv. I'm a freestyle DJ. That means that I do not prepare my sets. Now, I will prepare music, so I'll set cue points, and if I see a track that has a nice point that I might want to loop, I might set those loops, but I never know what I'm going to play when I start my set. I go off the crowd. So, of course, I have an idea. So if I'm booked to play at a hip-hop and R&B party, I know I'm going to play hip-hop and R&B. If I'm playing at a party where it's mostly new music, I'll be playing new music. If I'm playing at an old-school party, it's going to be old school, etc., etc. So as a DJ, you have a clear idea of what you came to do. Now, mind you, that's only for parties that have a special concept. You might be playing at clubs or bars where it's just open format, anything goes, and it all really depends on what kind of people you get in that night. In that case, it can go in any direction. So I have an idea of the type of music that I'm going to play. I don't know what tracks I will play. I know the type of music I have with me, so it's always good to know the tracks you have. And then it is all up to the crowd. Now, it starts with my time. If I start early, then I'm the warm-up DJ. That means I'm there to set the mood, create that atmosphere, and not to get too hyped because people are just coming in. They want to feel that nice vibe. So I'm not there to hit them with some bangers already. I want people to come in, maybe have a drink first, wait for the club to fill up a bit more, and all that. If I'm playing prime time, then the party is already going and it's already at a certain level, and then I have to come in to really kill it. Anyways, I start with that first track. I'll pick a track, go through the laptop, just look, see what I'm going to play, and I'll find a track to start with. It also depends on what the DJ before me is playing. That's always going to give me an indication of, okay, he or she's been playing a lot of this. Maybe I'll hit them off key, start with something totally different, or maybe I'll start with something that I use as an intro track. And then I start, and from that point on, I read the crowd. Now, what does that mean? Well, it is basically just observe how the crowd reacts to what you play. That's what it all comes down to. You want to make sure that the crowd is having a good time, that the crowd is dancing. That's your job. That's what you came to do. You want them to go all out, have a good time. So if I play that first track, I'm not only looking at the reaction, but reading the crowd is not just using your eyes, but your ears as well. If I throw in that first track, and that track is meant to be a banger to get them all hyped and excited, I expect a couple of oohs and ahs, as I always call it. You want to hear that roar from the crowd, or at least a little bit of reaction to let you know, like, hey, they're feeling this track. If I get that reaction, then I know that I'm on the right path, and I might grasp something similar to the track that I'm already playing because I know that they like what I'm playing. If I have no idea, Or if I start with that first track and the reaction is not really there, or it's a straight up flat line, then I know that this might not be the crowd for that type of music. So I'll try something else. Now, best thing to do is not to panic when you don't get that initial reaction. You just look for another track. Chances are people will stay on that dance floor, and it's going to take a little bit more for you to scare them away. Now, mind you, I've been in situations where I actually scared the crowd away. I'll get into that in a minute. But I'll play that track. If the reaction is meh, and maybe I just tried a little older track, the action is not really there, then I might try something newer. Now, again, don't just use your eyes to read that crowd to see how they react, but also look at the kind of people that you have in front of you. Is it a young crowd? Is it an older crowd? Is it a crowd that is like, how should I put it, really dressed to impress, but almost to a level that you know that they don't want to break a sweat because they want to look pretty? Or can you tell like you got one of those dancing crowds in there? They don't care. They'll come in sweatpants. They came to just rock that dance floor. It all depends. Are they all a lot older? You look at all of those things. So you look at what kind of crowd it is, how they react. Are they reacting like vocally? And I look for a track that's going to get that right reaction. That is basically what reading the crowd is all about. You look, get the right reaction, you continue. Don't get that reaction, you look for something else. That's how I play freestyle, and that really works for me because you really get to go off the crowd. You can prepare a set, but just imagine if you prepare an entire set and it's all a certain type of music. But when you come to the party, the crowd that is attending is not really feeling the type of music you have in that prepared set. If you have to play an entire set with music that they're not feeling, that's not going to work well. That's probably going to scare that crowd away or at least get them off the dance floor. So that's why I always preferred doing the freestyle thing. Now, of course, if you know 100% sure what type of people will be at that party, then you can use some preparation as well. Because if I know for a fact that I have, let's say, an old school hip hop crowd, if I want to prepare like a routine or a set, I know exactly what type of tracks to pick because I know what the audience will like. In that case, you can't really go wrong. But other than that, it's always good to just, even if you prepare a little bit, for the rest, make sure that you keep your eyes on that crowd. I've seen small DJs, beginning DJs, but also like big DJs go into a club, play, and have the entire crowd hate them after 45 minutes because they were not playing the right stuff. Crowd was not feeling it, but they just kept on playing what they were playing. I'm going to give you one more scenario because this can also happen. I've had this happen multiple times. You might run into a crowd that is basically unreadable because they don't show any type of reaction or emotion. I know that sounds hella boring, and it is. Once that happens, so you establish that they don't like old, new. You've tried hip hop R&B. You've tried something a little bit more poppy. I don't know, a little bit more electronic. You've tried all these different things, but you don't get that reaction from the crowd. Once I try like 3, 4, 5 different things, and I see that the reaction is flatlined to everything, I make a conclusion that that crowd is just like that. That is the way they act. And I won't continue to go on all night trying to find that one track that might move them more. I'll just switch and be like, all right, they just don't react. Let me just go do my thing. Sometimes you will have that crowd that just doesn't react. In that case, you just go do you. Play the track that you came to play and have a good time. After that night or after my set, I went to the bouncers at that club in that city and I just talked to one of the bouncers just to find out. I was like, hey, what's the deal with the crowd? I didn't really hear any type of reactions. They're kind of dead. And he just told me they're always like that. Doesn't matter what type of party we have. So the concept or the type of music doesn't matter. This is how our crowd is. Okay. So I knew I made the right decision. I tested a couple of things, didn't get that real hype reaction. did my set. Now, the one clear indication that I did have that they were not hating it is they stayed on the dance floor the whole time. So no reactions. They kept to themselves, but they stayed on the dance floor. Sometimes that's all you're going to get, and it's better than having them leave the dance floor. So I hope that gives you a little bit more insight into what reading the crowd is all about. There's no set rules, but you just got to use your eyes, your ears, and your brain. Because the DJ that played after me, he really panicked. I remember that because they weren't reacting after like 3, 4 tracks. He was like starting to break that sweat, did not know what to do. And I just told him like, yo, they're not going to react differently to anything else. Just do you, play some dope tunes. They're still on the dance floor. This is all you're going to get, and make it happen. I have a question from Mike, and the question is record box or Serato? For me, it is still Serato. I tested record box, and it is it's kind of similar to Serato as far as how it looks and how it works. But there wasn't really a reason for me to switch from something that I've been using for years. Serato, started with Scratch Live, then I went on to Serato DJ. There's no need for me to switch to record box if record box is not going to add extra value to my sets. So it works great. I think it's going to get better over time because it's pretty new still. It's pretty young. It's like 2 years, I think, since the performance thing got added. So I'll keep an eye on it. I'll be doing a special video about it. And yeah, I have it so I can use it from time to time. And we'll see what kind of new hardware comes out for the DVS DJs among us like me. But I will be sticking to Serato DJ for now. That's my go-to software. That's what I use with my S9, and it has everything I need. But I'm always checking out everything that comes out. Same with what you see right here. Don't know if you can really tell. These are the Denon SE5000 Prime players. I was actually preparing to shoot a video that I'll be shooting after this podcast. And that is a video about the new updates. And now you can actually use this player right here as a controller for Serato DJ. So they have their own software, Denon Engine Prime. You can prepare your tracks in that, make cue points and all of that stuff. But you could already take a flash drive with Serato folders, put it in this player, and it would analyze it. And it would see all your Serato hot cues and stuff like that. So you could use your Serato folders on this player. But now they've taken it a step further, and with the new Serato update, you can actually put this player in a Serato controller mode, connect it with USB, and then you get all the Serato information that's on your laptop, like your crates and stuff like that, on the screen, the display of the player. And since this is a dual layer player, you can control 2 decks with 1. So with 2 of these right here, I can control 4 decks in Serato DJ. That's pretty cool. Now, of course, for Serato DJ, you will need a certified audio interface to use it. So either one of the Pioneer mixers, or in this case, I have that X1800 mixer by Denon. So this is the entire Denon Prime series set. So I'll be shooting that in a minute. But for me, Serato is still just fine. And I see someone say the same thing here in the comment section. It is all about personal preference. So you need to find out what you're looking for from DJ software. And you have a couple of main competitors in there. Of course, you have Serato, you have Traktor, you have Virtual DJ, you've got Record Box DJ, and they all have their different things. So for some people, Traktor is going to be the perfect software. It's a little bit more performance-based, and Serato might be considered to be a little bit more turntablist-based. And Virtual DJ is just so stacked with options that it has everything in there, and it's a great entry-level system, but also great for people who are way further on, like advanced DJs. So you have to figure out what's going to be best for you, because they all work and they all get the job done. Now, how do I organize my music? Zach wants to know. That's a good one. And I've told this before, I'm still struggling with the best way to organize my folders, and I try different things every time. I'm still not there. The only thing I can tell you is I'm trying to make my crates smaller, smaller, smaller. That is my goal. I want to have like perfect crates and playlists that are just not that stacked. They don't need to have like 500 tracks in there. There's no need for that. If you play, even if you do all night gigs, like 6 or 8 hour gigs, how many songs do you really play in that time? You know, people bring in like 200 gigs of music. It really makes no sense. That would mean if I translate that to like real vinyl, I would have to come in with like 20 or 30 crates, 40 crates, have like a whole gang of people carrying those things in. You didn't do that. And there was no need for it. You would never play that much music anyway. So I'm trying to make my crates smaller, just have all the essential stuff in there from all the different genres that I might play, and I maybe have a crate or two that are more about like new stuff, stuff that I want to try out. And even then, you don't need that much music. Some people like to be safe and have everything there just in case that one person at that one party is going to ask that one request, so you can say, "Yeah, I have it." For me, that's not not necessary. I want to make my crates smaller. Same thing here. We just have Rekordbox or Serato. Now we have Mac versus PC. Robert asked the question, Mac versus PC. They both work. They both work. It all depends on what you use it for, but even then, they both work. So right now, I have a MacBook Pro right here in front of me. My DJ laptop for the longest time was a MacBook, not a MacBook Pro, a MacBook. 2006 black MacBook. That served me well for years. It still works. I have it right here. Let me see if I can grab that. Can I grab that? Yes, I can. You may have seen this in some of my videos, my custom MacBook 2006. It still works. It's just outdated. It can't even run Serato DJ. It's just too old. So that's why I'm not using it anymore. But this served me well. Before that, I used an, I don't know how you pronounce it. I've heard all kinds of pronunciations. Some say Asus, some say Aces. I used a Windows laptop for the longest. Let me park this. And that worked. It worked well. I started with different software before I went to Serato, and I think I switched to the MacBook when I went to Serato, Scratch Live. Here's the thing. I started to use a Windows laptop again after my MacBook wasn't suitable anymore, and I did not have the money for a MacBook Pro yet, so I used a Lenovo laptop for Windows. Pretty cool. Intel i5. It has a SSD in there, enough RAM. It worked just fine. Serato DJ worked just fine. Rekordbox DJ, it worked. Only thing, especially when it comes to audio and video stuff, a lot of times when you use Windows computers, you need to have extra drivers and install extra things for everything. Even now, I'm using the same mic I was using last week, only this is a different mic stand, and I'm not at the other studio. So I had an audio interface there. I need something here. So I just got this tiny little thing. Get that in the screen. See if I can reach it. All right. This little thing right here, that's a Zoom U22. This is not a sponsored thing or something. I just got this because it's small, portable, so I can take that anywhere. Now, even in the manual, it says if you have your Apple, your MacBook, you can just plug it in, USB, and it works. And it works. If you have Windows, first have to get the right driver, install it, and then it will work. So that's just one of those little things. Some people will swear to use Apple for all their studio stuff like video editing, audio editing, and all that. But Windows will work as well. You can get Windows computers cheaper, so PC is going to be cheaper. But I prefer Apple. I like the ecosystem, and I'll prefer to use that for my audio and video for now. But even as I'm looking towards the future and I might want to get a monster for my video editing, I know for a fact I can get a beast of a computer for a fraction of the price compared to an Apple, let's say like a MacBook or a Mac Pro that I have to fit the way I want it to be. That's going to cost me thousands more than what I can get when I get a PC and assemble that with like the best video cards and a lot of memory and everything in there. So again, they will both work. It all depends on what you can afford and what you're looking for. If you're also into gaming, I think PCs are probably better. I don't see a lot of people game on their MacBooks. But again, I'm not really into gaming enough to say that. So do you? Any news about the Rain 72? No, I haven't checked. I might be able to get some inside info. I do get inside info from some brands, but a lot of times that inside info has to stay inside. So I'm not allowed to share. Sometimes I even sign NDAs to make sure that I don't say anything. But in this case, I can tell you that I don't know anything yet. Is it necessary to mix into the previous DJ's tunes? Especially if they're playing a completely different genre. Okay, so in this scenario, you're talking about you're about to start your set and the other DJ is playing before you. If you have to mix into what they're playing, no, you definitely do not have to do that. And I would say it's probably a lot better not to. If you just imagine if you seamlessly mix into the last DJ's final track, the crowd is not even going to notice that there's a new DJ there. So they won't even hear that there's someone else. So if they're not paying attention, they might only find out after 10, 15, 20 minutes that, oh, hey, it's another DJ. You don't really want that. Of course, it's not about you being seen, but on the other hand, it is. I've had DJs that were playing after me, and they were whack. I wanted to make sure that the crowd did not think that I was still the one who was playing. So I think it's better to have that DJ just cut that track out. If there's an MC, let that MC announce you. If you're going to MC yourself, you do it yourself. And then you start with either an intro or just a banger to get going. So I prefer that instead of just mixing into the last DJ, especially if that last DJ is done. We're not going back to back. Let me just start my set. I saw this question last week. The DDJ SZ2, is it worth it? Compared to the SZ, not really. There weren't that many updates. I have a review of the SZ on the channel, and I did a short video about the SZ2 as well. So you might want to check that out just to see what's going on. You're using Serato. You want to know if there's a better option. This all depends on what you need. Do you need a controller that is the size of this entire setup right here? Are you going to be using it strictly at home? You have great smaller units out there as well. There's so much to pick from. Do you need 4 channels or is 2 just fine? You want to have buttons for everything inside the software? Or are you fine with just a little bit less real estate and having to press shift to get all the secondary functions working? There's a lot to talk about. That's why I never really give advice like that on the whim, just to say, oh yeah, get that one. It all depends. But the SZ2, it's a beast of a controller. But you have a lot of different options as well. Let me do one more question. And once again, if you're checking out the live stream, thanks for watching. Salute to every one of you. And I will be reading all the questions. So after this live stream is done, even if you're watching the replay or if you're watching on YouTube or checking out the podcast audio version on SoundCloud and iTunes, I check the comments and I will answer questions there and maybe pick a question or two to answer next week. So feel free to jump in. And I want to make this a community effort. So if you see questions that you know you can answer, feel free to answer those questions. This is called share the knowledge. It's not just about me giving you my experience. A lot of you have your own experience. Sometimes you know a lot more about a subject than I do, and you're in a better position to answer some of these questions. So if you have one of these devices that they're asking about, you can tell them how you feel about it. Is it working out for you? Did you buy an SZ2? Was it worth the money to you? Or are you already looking for something else? This is a great way to help each other out. This is the way we get that info. So let me just scroll through and get one more question. Maybe two. Did you digitalize all your LPs? No, I definitely did not. I downloaded stuff, and I also bought a lot of cheap compilation CDs that had all the tracks of certain genres that I did have, but I didn't want to digitalize, and just ripped them off CDs. That was a lot faster. DDJ RX2, yes, I'm going to do a review. I actually just played with it today at a store. I'm going to talk to Pioneer and see if I can do one soon. So you know what? I'll answer that. That's the last question. So I'm using Serato DJ with the NS7. What I want to know is, when getting new music, is there a faster way to load a bunch of tracks into Serato instead of doing it individually or analyzing the whole collection? A whole bunch of tracks. I mean, you can just slide them in there all at once, right? I'm not sure how to answer this question. So, getting new music, is there a faster way to load a bunch of tracks into Serato instead of doing it individually? Look, if I have new tracks that I want to add to my crates, a lot of times I will just, right now my crates are like terrible, but when my crates were pretty good, in order, picked by genre or time, if I have some new tracks, I make sure those tracks go into a certain folder, and I can't just take the whole bunch and throw everything in there if they go into different folders in Serato. So I'll have to take my new hip hop and add it. But what I did, I make my crates, my folders, as actual folders on my computer. And I just put that entire folder in Serato. So if I have new stuff to add, then I'll add it to that folder. In Serato, I'll delete that folder, and I'll just import the folder from the computer into Serato again, and it will analyze the new tracks that are in. I mean, there's different ways to go about it, but I prefer to have those folders on my computer. Just in case anything happens to Serato, I still have all those folders as actual folders. And I can even import those same folders into different software if need be. So I hope that answers your question, or maybe I'm not really understanding the question. Just holler back. I want to thank you for checking in. So I'm doing the live stream every Monday at 1 here on Facebook. And you can check out the replay on Facebook or YouTube. And, of course, the audio version, the podcast, actual podcast version on iTunes and SoundCloud. That's going to be up later today. I'll be back next week. Make sure to check out djTLMtv on YouTube for a lot more, including the video that I'm about to record right here.